Hey, hi everyone. This is Smriti. Welcome to QA automation classes. I'm going to continue with my Unix tutorial series and let's start with today's agenda. Okay. So what we are going to learn today? We are going to learn what is operating system, what are different types of the operating system, what is Linux and what is Unix, what is the structure or architecture of the Unix operating system, and what are the features of the Unix, okay, and what is the Unix file system, okay. So this is very high level introduction to the Unix. So let's start, guys. Okay, so what is the operating system? Okay, so operating system is a software, okay, or you can say it's a set of the programs, right, that communicates with the hardware. Okay, so there are different types of the operating systems are there in the market. So here I have listed out majorly the two types of the operating system. One is the PC-based operating systems, another one is the mobile operating systems. Okay, the operating systems which are designed for the personal computer. Okay, those are known as the PC-based operating systems, like Windows. So in Windows family only we have different varieties of the operating system, like Windows 95, Windows 98, uh, XP, right? And Windows Vista, Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows 10, right? And recently Windows 11 also got launched, right? So, and then there is Macintosh and Linux and Unix, etc. These are PC related operating systems. And for mobile operating systems, we have Android, iOS, BlackBerry, Symbian, and WebOS. So, what is the difference between Linux and Unix? Okay. So before coming to Linux and Unix difference, I want to tell you guys about the difference between the CUI and GUI based operating system, right? So GUI is graphical user interface, right? So as the name says, it's graphical, right? You can view the things, you can see the things, right? So Windows is a graphical user interface, right? You right click and then you go to new and click on the folder. A new folder is created. Didn't have to write any commands over there. You just did it graphically by following the set of the instructions, right? But in but there is something else is called as the CUI. CUI is nothing but the command line user interface, where you need to explicitly write the commands to do some action, right? So in the command line user interface, like Linux, and Unix, both are the CUI. So there, if you want to create a folder, you go to the terminal and then you type the command mkdir, right? So it will create a directory, right? So it's completely CUI. Okay. So the Linux and the Unix both are the CUI, but there is a one big difference between both of them, right? Linux is a open source while Unix is a commercial one, right? And most of the commands are similar in both Unix and Linux operating system. And now let's see what is the structure of the Unix operating system. Okay. So as I have already told you, the job of the operating system is to interact with the hardware, right? So now let's see what is the structure of the Unix operating system. So at the topmost level, there is the user. User is the person who's going to use the system, and they interact with the application. Okay, and then that application interacts with the shell. Okay, and the and then shell interacts with the kernel. Okay, and kernel interacts with the hardware. The shell is known as the high level programming. The programs which are get executed at this level are known as the high level programming, and the program which are getting executed at this level, kernel level, is known as the low level programming. So low level programmings are like the program which can be read by the machine in the machine understandable form, right? And then the actual operation is performed on the hardware, right? So this is the structure of the Unix operating system. So what are the different features of the Unix? Okay, the Unix is multi-user and like multiple user can access to the same system resources, right? I have the memory, right? Secondary storage. So there are multiple users are there, right? So all the user can access to the same memory or the shared resources, right? And the multitasking. So you can execute the multiple tasks concurrently, right? It's not a single tasking, it's multitasking. Okay. Then security. So it provides the authentication, authorization, and encryption. So more secure. So let's discuss what is authentication, what is authorization, and what is encryption. The authentication is like when you log into a particular application, the system verifies, right, whether this user is available in our system or not. Okay. If the user is available, then the application allows you to log in, right? So that is called as the authentication. The user is authenticated in the system and user is allowed access. Now, the next step is the authorization. Authorization means what are the things those are applicable to this user? Can this user see every functionality of the application? Or there are some functionalities which are only applicable to this user and other functionality we have to hide from the user, right? So that is called the authorization, right? So now I logged into this application, WPS Office, but still I don't have the premium subscription. So I can only access non-premium content of this application. I cannot access the premium content of the application. So that is the authorization. Though I am able to log in, my authentication is successful, but I am not authorized to use the premium content or the premium feature, right? So that is called as the authorization. And then comes the concept of the encryption. So encryption is nothing but encrypting your original file into some different format, right? So if you see, this is a simple string, right? I have written some line. But when you encrypt this, the whatever the content is here, right? That will be encrypted to some unreadable format. If you try to open the file and look at the file, you cannot guess what is the original content of the file. Right? That is called as encryption. So because of this authentication, authorization, and encryption, they say Unix is more secure, right? And hierarchical file system. The files and the directories in the Unix operating system or Linux operating system, they are arranged in hierarchical manner. Okay, let's discuss that in detail. Okay, so Unix file system. So initially there is the root directory. Okay, so in Windows we say folder, in Linux or Unix we say directory. Okay, both are synonyms. Okay, so initially there is root folder or the directory, and inside the root directory you can find there will be so many other subdirectories. Okay, so there might be bin, dev, etc, home, lib, tmp or temp, and var, bar. Okay, depending upon the flavor of the Linux or the Unix on your system, the folders might vary. Okay, so let's see, like what are the content stored in those respective folders, right, or directories. So coming to the bin directory, all the binary files are stored in the bin folder, right? So depending upon the flavor of your Unix or Linux distribution, you can see there might be slash bin or slash s bin. Okay, and dev stores the device related files. Okay, and configuration files, system admin related information, all those things are stored in the etc folder. Okay, and coming to the home, right, the this home contains the data files and the list of the existing user. Okay, and then coming to the usr, you might see a directory called usr that contains the read-only data and the user-related file. Okay, so most of the softwares that are by default installed are located here. Okay, and lib stands for the library, right? So these are the files which are necessary for running the operating system. Okay, and the tmp, as the name suggests, it stores all the temporary files, right? And where it contains the large size data. Okay, So this was a brief introduction to the Unix operating system. Okay, difference between the Linux and Unix and features of Unix and how's the file system in Unix. Okay, so I'll quickly show you in my system how the file system looks. Okay, so I have not installed any flavor of the Unix or Linux. I have installed one application called Syswin to get the Linux flavor in my Windows machine. Okay, so you might see a little variance to whatever mentioned here, the folder structure. But yeah, in your version of the Linux or Unix, you might see the exact same folder structure, or you might see a little variance, or something might be added, something else, some other folder might be there. Okay, so let's go and quickly see how does it look. Okay, so yes. So in my local disk C, you can say I have this is in 64. This is the root directory. Okay. Inside the root directory, I have the bin, dev, etc, home, lib, sbin, tmp, user, var, and these are the terminals. Okay. Right. So this is what how particular Unix hierarchy or the structure looks like. Okay. Hope everything is clear, guys. If you guys have any doubt, just post them in the comment section. I'll try to address them. Thank you, everyone. Bye.